biography of a prominent Filipino. A prominent Filipino is said to be heroines who changed Philippine history, or the Filipino who has exemplary work or has the biggest contribution in the society. Thinking about the personalities, you can't help but notice a pattern. They're mostly men who fit into the typical hero and mold of machismo and valor. While history books often devote entire chapters to the adventure and achievements of male heroes, our female heroines are often bounded into one section, treated at footnotes or afternote despite also fighting for the nation's freedom. In time, Filipino life lists of brave Filipino heroines whose actions deserve to be remembered. These women are more than just token for female representation. Remember their names and their achievement. Biography of Filipino prominent gives inspiration to us or an individual. Somehow it gives feedback to us Filipino. It's also the time we realize the good work of a Filipino prominent. General Emilio Aguinaldo was born on March 23, 1869 near Cavite, Luzon, Philippines, and died on February 6, 1964 in Quezon City. So, General Emilio Aguinaldo won distinction for his military exploit and emerged as the recognized leader of his people, who elevated him to the presidency of the first Christian republic in Asia. So, General Emilio Aguinaldo, Filipino leader and politician who fought first against Spain and later against the United States for the independence of the Philippines. This day in history, 1898, June 12, Philippine independence declared. During the Spanish-American War, Filipino rebels, led by Emilio Aguinaldo, proclaimed the independence of the Philippines after 300 years of Spanish rule. During the revolution in 1876, he joined the movement as a lieutenant under General Baldomero Aguinaldo. He rose to the rank of general in few months. Then he conducted and campaigned against the Spaniard until the Pact of Biak na Bato was signed on December 1897. Next is Cayetano Arellano. Cayetano Arellano was born on March 2, 1847 and died on December 23, 1920. So he was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Philippines under the American civil government. Cayetano Arellano occupied a high position in Aguinaldo's government. So he took up a law at the University of Santo Tomas in 1876. After passing the bar exam, he ran his own law office. Cayetano's ability to teach law made many lawyers like him. In 1886, he named Magistrado Suplente, and in 1893, he was appointed member of the Provincial Assembly and entrusted to him the basic rules of this assembly. After a few years, he became Magistrado Suplente de la Audiencia Territorial de Manila. During the war, Don Cayetano became Secretary of Foreign Affairs. He was Councilor of the City of Manila in 1877. In 1898, he again reopened his law office. He was appointed head of the highest court in the country on May 29, 1899, and he was the first Filipino to hold this great position. So he worked with the American under General Otis and established the Audiencia Territorial as Supreme Court. He served as the Chief Justice from 1901 until his retirement on April 12, 1920, making him the longest-serving Chief Justice in the Philippines. And before he died, he requested no flowers and ceremonies. Instead, he should have a simple funeral. So he played a principal role in the organization of the court and the codification of the marriage and municipal law and the rules of criminal procedure. Next is Melchor Aquino, well known as Tandang Sora, considered mother of the Philippine Revolution. Melchor Aquino was known as Tandang Sora in the Philippine history because when the war broke out, led by Andres Bonifacio in 1896, he was already old at the age of 84. He joined the revolution. So in August 1896 came the cruel Spaniard. They became more strong and radical, for they heard that Bonifacio men were going to revolt. Hundreds of men in the city of Manila were captured and being forced to reveal the secret of Katipunan. They were severely punished and many of them hanged, and still others were half dead. Some escaped to the forest of Balintawak. In the person of Tandang Sora, they met an angel who took care of them. Everyone had managed to escape and came to Tandang Sora and was taken care of her by offer. and services in the letter store. Even women and children who came for help in Tandang Sora's place, she offered her kind service. So the Spaniard learned about her generous service instantly. The cruel Spaniard arrested and captured her, took Tandang Sora to Manila, and later exiled to Marianas Island. So the old Tandang Sora came back when the Philippine was already in the hand of the American, and she was already very old and no more property. So she lived poor and died very poor. So Filipinos long remember the courage of woman in the person of Tandang Sora, who once offered her love for her countrymen and her motherland. So she was known as the Philippine World War Revolution, or Mother of Katipunan. Francisco Baltasar. Francisco Baltasar was born on April 2, 1788 in Benga, Bulacan in Philippines, and died on February 20, 1862. So, he is the greatest Filipino poet, author of the famous Florante at Laura. So, Balagtas was imprisoned for fabricated charges. After his sad chapter of his life, when Balagtas was released from prison, he went to Bataan, when he held various important government positions. He became an assistant judge in the town, became Teniente Mayor. And when Balagtas was released from prison, he resumed writing poems and plays, which became his own means of livelihood. So, he won a number of awards and accolades for some his pieces, such as Aman ng Balagtasan. He was even featured of the front local of magazine in recognition of his outstanding writing talent. So his writing were mostly on the oppressed condition of his country under the cruel Spanish regime. Florante at Laura is best writing ever made. A novel in verse, the well-known novel shows and reminds us the political situation of our beloved country during the Spanish era. So, the Florante at Laura, the most notable of his work, Florante at Laura, or Pinagdaanan ng Buhay ni Florante at Laura sa Kaharian ng Albania, has been published in numerous editions from its original publication in 1838. Next is Andres Bonifacio, or known as the Dakilang Maralita, or the father of revolution, the second hero of our race, and the founder of the Katipunan. So the hero of the uprising, Balintawak in 1896, born on Tondo, Manila on November 30, 1863. He had great hopes and believed that his countrymen could maintain a free government. Because of this, he organized the Katipunan in Balintawak, the uprising. He convinced Emilio Aguinaldo, the brain of the revolution, to help him. And then he was the founder, later the kataas-taasang Pangulo, Supreme President, Presidente Supremo in Spanish, often shortened by contemporaries and considered one of the KKK, or more commonly known as the Katipunan, a movement which sought the independence of the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule and started the Tagalog Revolution. Then Bonifacio's legacy to his mother country was democracy. He left us the lesson he derived from his Decalogue. So, first is believe in God wholeheartedly. Second is love your country and your countrymen. Third is it is an honor to die if cause is saving the country from slavery. Fourth is desire is obtained by possessing coldness of heart. Fifth is take care of the secret of Katipunan just as you take care of your own honor. And sixth is to save one who is in danger. So Bonifacio's love his native land and his people. His favorite saying, liberty or death. So the first revolt began in Balintawak on August 26, 1896. The Filipino were shouting, "Long live the Philippine Republic." Next is Apolinario Burgos. Apolinario Burgos was born on February 9, 1837 in Vegan, Philippines, and died on February 17, 1872 in Manila. So, Apolinario Burgos was a priest, reformist, and martyr. Dr. Rizal professor at the Ateneo de Manila. So, he studied at San Juan de Latran in Manila, later transferred to University of Santo Tomas, where he obtained his doctorate degree in canon law and theology. He was then appointed second curate of Cathedral, then magistrate at the Cathedral, and finally fiscal of Ecclesiastical Court, the highest position Filipino could held at the time. Jose Burgos several times defended the cause of the Filipino clergy. He protested against abuses of Spanish priests. This led to his downfall together with Gomez and Zamora. He was falsely accused of encouraging the Cavite rebellions in 1872. The three priests was garroted at Bagumbayan on February 17, 1872. So the death of Gomborza and the propaganda movement, they questioned Spanish authorities and demanded reform. The martyrdom of the three press apparently helped to inspire the organization of propaganda movement, which aimed to seek reform and inform Spain of the abuses of its colonial government. Next is Gregorio del Pilar. Gregorio del Pilar was born on November 14, 1875 and died on December 2, 1899. And he was a Filipino general of the Philippine Revolutionary Army during the Philippine-American War. So, Gregorio del Pilar is the hero of the Battle of Tirad Pass Revolutionary General. In 1896, when revolution broke out, General Aguinaldo assigned Gregorio del Pilar as commander. He was the youngest Filipino soldier general. He barely fought superior and better armed American force in the narrow pass of Tirad. Before the famous battle, General Gregorio del Pilar wrote a statement saying, "I am now surrounded by the courage which shall overpower me and my brave men. I shall die happily with the thought that it is sweet to die defending my motherland." He was killed in this battle, but surely his braveness shows to his country above all. So the American, impressed by his bravery, they buried him with military honors, killed in Battle of Tirad Pass on December 2, 1899. Next is Marcelo H. del Pilar. So Marcelo H. del Pilar was born on August 30, 1850 and died on July 4, 1896. So Marcelo H. del Pilar is known of the editor of the popular La Solidaridad and leading propagandist. So, Marcelo H. del Pilar, he finished law and requested the Spaniards to build schools throughout the country for the Filipinos. He firmly believed that it would be good for countrymen and education for all. The Spaniards got angry and suspected him of being an enemy of Spain. He was advised by his close relative to leave the Philippines. He went to Spain. There he met Graciano Lopez Haina, the founder of La Solidaridad. Marcelo became the editor who wrote about the suffering of his Filipino. He continued his work for reforms. He met many difficulties. He kept on writing, hoping that someday his country will be free for all suffering from the Spaniard. So, he returned to the Philippines. While on his way, he died on the seas. Another Filipino patriot in the life of Marcelo del Pilar, popularly known as Plaridel, as his pen name. So, he became known as Plaridel and was a Filipino writer, lawyer, journalist, and Freemason. So, Marcelo H. del Pilar is the father of Philippine journalism for his 150 essays and 66 editorial, mostly published in La Solidaridad and various under-fire pamphlets. Del Pilar is widely regarded as the father of Philippine journalism. Next is Emilio Jacinto. Emilio Jacinto was born on March 22, 1869 and died on February 6, 1964. So, recognized as the brain of the Katipunan and the Revolution. So, he is the first advisor of Andres Bonifacio. So, when the revolution broke out, he joined the Katipunan, was become the advisor of Andres Bonifacio. He was the author of Cartela, a librarian of the Katipunan, as well as editor of the paper Kalayaan. So, the Supreme found Jacinto a very intelligent and brave companion. Emilio wrote The Katipunan. It continued the secret of society's teaching. The Katipunan is to love and defend the country. The Katipuneros advised to respect both women and children all the time, especially in time of war. He served as purchasing officer of the organization. And then Emilio Aguinaldo led the revolutionary movement against the Spaniard colonial movement in the Philippines. He cooperated with the U.S. during the Spanish-American War, but subsequently broke with the U.S. and led a guerrilla campaign against U.S. authorities during the Philippine-American War. And he led Philippine forces first against Spain in the Philippine Revolution in 1896 to 1898, then the Spanish-American War in 1898, and finally against the United States during the Philippine-American War in 1899 to 1801. Next is Sultan Kudarat. Sultan Kudarat is the brave woman leader in Maguindanao, or he was known for his name Muhammad Dipatuan Kudarat, and he was born in 1581 and died on 1671. He was the seventh Sultan of the Maguindanao from 1619 to 1671. During his reign, he successfully fought off Spanish invasion and hated the spread of Catholicism on the island of Maguindanao. Much like the other Muslim rulers in the southern Philippines, he was a direct descendant of Sharif Kabungsuan, Malay Arab noble from Johor who brought Islam to Mindanao between the 17th and 13th and 14th centuries. So, to acknowledge his greater work, the government declared some part of Maguindanao to be named after him. From there was placed in Mindanao called Sultan Kudarat, a province near Cotabato, Islanao, and called Coronadal, South Cotabato. Next is General Antonio Lona. So was born on October 29, 1866 and died on June 5, 1899. So was a Filipino army general who fought in the Philippine-American War before his assassination in 1898. General Luna is the intelligent young man, finished his degree in pharmacy at the University of Santo Tomas. Then 2 years after he came back to the Philippines, Luna was accused of initiating the cry of Pugadlawin. Together with other Filipino leaders, he was exiled to Spain. There he decided to set his life in the Filipino movement for freedom. So in Spain, Luna joined the propaganda movement, a cultural and literary organization of Filipino expatriates, is called Simulation of the Philippines as the province of Spain. Filipino representation in Spain legislature, freedom of speech and the press, and the Filipino equality before the law. Next is Juan Luna, was born October 23, 1857 and died on December 7, 1899. Juan Luna was a Filipino painter, sculptor, and a political activist of the Philippine Revolution during the late 19th century. He became one of the first recognized Philippine artists. He became a hero because of his bravery. Luna was named director of the war on September 26, 1898. He became famous for bravery, unusual style of fighting, and strict discipline. At the age of 31, he shot dead on June 5, 1899 at Cabanatuan City in attack of deed of disgruntled Filipino sergeant. Juan Luna was a great Filipino painter and prize winner in Europe for his painting. The Death of Cleopatra, The Blood Compact, and the Spolarium. So, his masterpiece is his Spolarium, won the top prize in 1884 Madrid Exposition of Fine Arts. Next is Apolinario Mabini. Apolinario Mabini was born on July 23, 1864 and died on May 13, 1903. So was a Filipino revolutionary leader, educator, lawyer, and statesman who served first as a legal and constitutional advisor to the revolutionary government and then as the first prime minister of the Philippines upon the establishment of the first Philippine Republic. So Mabini wrote the true Decalogue when Philippine War broke out. It inspired the Filipino to fight and die for freedom's sake. He laid down the foundation of the first Philippine Republic, earning for him the title Brain of the Revolution. In 1899, Mabini resigned as Aguinaldo advisor because of poor health. He was captured by the American and later exiled to Guam in January 7, 1901. He died on cholera on May 13, 1903 at the age of 39. Then, he is regarded as the utak ng himagsikan or brain of the revolution and is also considered as a national hero in the Philippines. Mabini's work and thought on the government shaped the Philippines' fight for independence over the next century. Next is Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal was born on June 19, 1861 in Calamba, Philippines and died on December 30, 1896, Manila. So, full name of Jose Rizal is Jose Potasio Rizal Mercado y Alonzo Rialonda. He is a patriot, physician, and a man of letters who was an inspiration to the Philippine nationalist movement. He was a multi-faceted intellectual and a political activist best known for his political writing that inspired the Philippine Revolution and ultimately led by his execution by the Spanish colonialism. So, Jose Rizal finished medicine and well-known linguistic in different language, but the most great achievement that Rizal accomplished was the time of the propagandist movement. He was an active Filipino to seek for the reform of his country during Spanish government through his novel No Limitangere and in 1887 and El Filibusterismo in 1891. These books brought out the cruelty, especially to his countrymen. It spread out to the whole world about the Spanish tyranny. This led for the sudden death of Rizal. He was sentenced to death on December 31, 1896 at Bagumbayan, now popular as Luneta Park. A Filipino who loved so much his country and his motherland, fighting for the cause, especially the independence of being a free man on earth. Truly, we say that Dr. Jose Rizal is the pride of Malay race. Our great heroes. We ought to remember, honor, and love our great heroes. They were Filipinos of courage and determination. Each of them dedicated a great part of their lives by doing noble work for the countrymen and for the good of our beautiful country. These great heroes sacrificed for our beloved native land. They showed their love for all the Filipinos and of the country. They served because it made them happy and honored. They were not after the reward, wealth, fortune, and fame of generation. We cannot be all we cannot all be a great hero, but we can do it through their good example. Honors of their time and countless of our time, we should share our task to continue the cause this had started. They can be our source of inspiration for the better of being human and a law-abiding citizen. Let us be a part and know their great lives by reading the biographies and history of our great Filipino heroes. Thank you for watching.